test. Gotta see how loudly I can talk.
Hi, hello, welcome.
Smile like that.
It's a regular smile.
It's crystal clear, we've been for years, struggle straight along the way, but having you by my side makes everything okay. We're watching video clips of all types of laughing out loud, we really hate this crowd, and we don't know where to go, hopefully take it slow. Lots of hustler minds will reject the decline, our approach to life and that, well that's just fine. We wanna let others live because it's none of our business. We press your chest upon our mess. There's so many minds, hey, I'd like to align. See beyond this place, we want a part of this race. We do what we can, you better tough out, man. You're about to pass out or get a pick for the cloud. Why is it so hard out here? They made it so weird. Try to stay woke and humble and joke. It's f***ing hard out here. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It's Hard Out Here. I'm Joel Morales.
I'm Karen Ayala.
And today our special guest is Daniel Duron. We know Daniel from 10th Planet Austin, as most of our guests. But, you know, like everyone else, we're going to find so much more out about Daniel and what he does. Hey, Daniel, how's it going? Thanks
What's
for
up?
joining us. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Nice to be here.
Really, really appreciate you coming by, man. We've actually have heard some whisperings about you from other people in the gym too.
I wonder what's happening.
You're definitely a known figure there. So, yeah, like I said, thanks for coming on, and tell us a little bit about yourself. What sort of things do you do outside of the gym, like work-wise or just even leisurely, things like that?
Let's see, man. Well, thanks for asking, and thanks for having me. I love to be outside mostly, if I can, and being in Austin now for almost 4 years, it's just it's a completely different terrain that I guess I'm upgrading into my system per se. I come from California, so I'm born and raised in San Diego.
Really, born and raised.
Born and raised in San Diego, yeah, and then I spent a lot of my early adult years in the Bay Area. So, both Southern California and Northern California have a deep connection to. I moved to Mexico City for a while, and then I moved to New York State, New York City, and then upstate New York, and then that's how I got to Austin during the pandemic. As many of us were probably pivoting into new ways of life. I thought I was heading back to California, and then somehow inadvertently made my way to Houston first, and then Austin, and here I am 4 years later. So that's my my trajectory. But asking what I do, it's like when I got to Texas, it was like completely different from what I had imagined Texas to be. It was just like totally, man. I was like in my mind, Texas was like old west towns and like cowboys and just way different than when I got here, and especially the hill country. I'm like, man, this is like like so nice. Green and nice and hills and really like springs and grottos and all this amazing stuff. Like it's amazing nature that like that's what I like to do outside of my work. So
Did you expect everyone to be riding around on horses still?
Not everybody, but I expected to see a few more. That's for sure. Yeah.
Okay. That's always been interesting to me. I've heard that from people from out of state. It's like, what, really? Like, do you really believe that in this century? Okay.
In the cities, they're just going around on their horse.
Yeah.
It's interesting how we get like plugged that information from an early age, and like it shapes your worldview and your like your spectrum of reality, where you like think about somewhere like, wait, there's no like sheriffs on a horse here, or like tumbleweeds and like a saloon. It's like
certain parts.
What is all that stuff, right? Like, what are those those thought implants? Like,
That's definitely more like West Texas type of stuff. Where you will definitely see tumbleweeds blowing around, lots of dirt.
A few hours outside of Austin, even.
Yeah.
The west.
Yeah, you just got to head west. And I've never actually been up to the Panhandle though, so I think that's pretty similar.
Yeah, that's definitely like deserty out there. I lived up in the Panhandle for a while. Not great. I used to joke. I was like, they should have just given that part to Oklahoma too. Then we'd be less.
We'd be smaller. Yeah. So lots of moving around. Huh? What motivated that?
Well, that's a good point. I think that there's a piece here about perhaps finally finally finding my groundedness, where I think it's actually true that like this has been the place where I've let's say invested the most time and energy to like being in one exact place. It actually it's beyond like living at home with my parents. Like here in Austin has been like, going on 4 years with like living in my own place. Before that, it's like, even, living in certain cities, I would move apartments or, places and stuff like that, homes. But yeah, something interesting about here being this place where I've actually been grounded in one spot for, almost going on 4 years now. So that's an interesting point. Yeah. And I'm not sure why so much moving around. I think I was just like, just down to explore, you know what I mean? Like, I think that like, many of us like, have, and I still do have that like adventuring spirit. Someone told me once like, the one that has the most adventures wins. You know what I mean? Okay. And that really struck a chord. I'm like, man, I'm down to check it all out. That's awesome. This is an experience, right? And like I look at it now like, my existence on Earth is like almost like a holiday. Like so every day can be, wow, this is just like an amazing day, and I want to like explore more and see what it has to offer. And I also want to express myself, in that I can show others what I have to offer too. Right. So that's how I like to operate.
That's awesome. That's really nice. What's have you had like a favorite spot yet, or do you just have like particular things you like about each one?
I think I think particular things about each one for sure, because everything has its own vibe and its own unique energy imprint, or special waters to go to, or like special hikes, or stuff like that.
Right.
I was thinking about that. Did you get to enjoy nature in every location? 'Cause
I have,
like Houston's known as kind of like the New York of Texas. So is there nature there?
Well, it was interesting because when I landed there, I was in the Woodlands, which is it's kind of like its own little hub, but it did have like a lot of nature. Like I was like taking walks on trails, just like deep in like the pine groves out there, which I was like surprised by. It's almost like this like swampy pine forest situation going on out there. So that was cool. Yeah.
That sounds really nice. I think I went out there once to the Woodlands area for a wedding reception. So, kind of just went to that one location. But yeah, I remember it was beautiful. Like they sort of had this, let's call it an open air like cathedral type of structure, So it was essentially the skeleton of the building, just all of the metal beams and stuff like that, but it was in the shape of a chapel, and it was all open air. So that was pretty cool. And then surrounded by like tall trees, and it's a little bit humid, but kind of warm, but it was
maybe
really
more
nice.
than a little bit humid.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it was really, really nice. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome.
What was it like upstate in New York? I mean, they have amazing forests up there, don't they?
Yeah, no, it was beautiful, man. It was, like everywhere has its own thing. I was in this area, Ulster County, Kerhonkson, almost by like Woodstock. So that was cool. A lot of really cool community out there. That was like a main drive to get up there.
Awesome.
And then I ended up moving a bit closer back to the city in the Hudson Valley. So like Cold Spring, New York. That was the last stint of my stay up in New York. So like from Hudson Valley, that's when I got to Texas.
All right.
Yeah. But no, beautiful. The Hudson River is like epic. Like, but I'm from California, so I did like 4 years of like hardcore winter, and I was like, I think something in my body, I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm done with this.
You couldn't acclimate.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to.
Yeah, I guess I could have, but I just didn't want to. Exactly. I was just like, you know what? This is chopping wood and filling up this like wood burning stove like constantly. I'm just like, I'm over it. Lots of work, huh? Okay. Lots of work.
Heard it's a bit rougher up there. People are rough around the edges.
Totally, I would agree with that.
I was actually having a conversation the other day with someone from New York, and they were saying, look, we're like hard on the outside, but we're really soft on the inside, and we might come off aggressive, but it's all with love. Like, it's like, all right, that's cool.
Is that like
that's a good buffering pad.
I can appreciate that, I guess. And so growing up in California, what sort of things were you into, and like where did you see yourself going as you grew older?
It's real interesting, man. I guess my main thing beyond like scholastics and school and was art, but then I got into graffiti. So graffiti was a big thing for me for a long time. It still is. I'm still a big part of that community.
Really? Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah. So that was like, graffiti was a vehicle to travel around and to like meet people in different parts of the world, and that was like my connective tissue, almost like jiu-jitsu is, right? Where it's like, you can travel to like a city and be like, oh, there's a 10th planet over here, and get welcomed by the community. But but so similarly with these like, with these underground art graffiti cultures.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do they have like they host like events and things like that where y'all get together and paint? Or?
Totally. But it was even like a bit more obscure. It was like back in the days, it was more just like, find each other through, even before internet, it was just like people like sending each other photos from like one city to the other, like packages of photos, and it's almost like pen pal style. Was like the beginning of it, like like mid '90s, which was pretty cool.
Wow, that's super interesting. How would you all meet?
There'd be some like sanctioned graffiti events or like here and there. I remember, a lot of people like share the story of like, oh, I started doing graffiti at the Boys and Girls Club when, they'd have like breakdancing events or like, stuff like that, like just different kind of like hip hop or even like punk rock events. You know what I mean? Like a lot of graffiti writers came out of like being punks. Like that's how you kind of met first, and like, oh, you do this too? Like, oh, I write on the wall also. Like, oh, let's start a crew together, or what I mean, let's get together. So and it's just it went pretty big from there. I mean, I traveled the world for graffiti for a long time.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Were you making any money from it, or is that kind of
really?
That's so interesting.
There was money to be made for sure.
Wow.
There's all types of interesting things that happened in that avenue that I was on for a long time.
Yes.
So how did you get started with that? Where did that like enter your life?
Yeah, I think growing up in San Diego, there was a big boom of graffiti, and Los Angeles, like early 90s when I started noticing it. I'm like, driving to school in the morning, I'm like, whoa, like how did they get on that freeway billboard and paint it?
I've always wondered stuff like that. Where you see a piece in like the most obscure spot, and you're just like, how the heck? And no one like stopped them, like they had the time to do that. Like,
and I remember like my mom being like, don't look at that, like that's bad, don't do it. And I'd be like, oh, I want to do it. Like you're telling me not to do it, like for sure I'm gonna do it. So like high school, it was already happening for me, like in junior high. It was already like I'm heavily influenced. Like even, the neighborhood I went to school in, Sherman Heights in San Diego. It was kind of gnarly back in the days. It was like definitely like a lot of gang warfare. Wow. San Diego is a beautiful city, but it also has like an extremely high homeless count where the people are. It's because it's such a nice city. A lot of people go there because it's like so chill to sleep outside. But growing up around that, it was definitely like there were some jarring moments of like, whoa, what's going on over there? You know what I mean? And there's like, for Southern California too, there's like a big. I'll tell you kind of the roots of this too. It's like growing up around a lot of gang activity, like the people and the kids that didn't want to be a part of that sort of had to band together and get into graffiti crews to almost protect themselves from the gang. So like we had to sort of like create our own community so that we would be somewhat protected from like gang members. So like there was definitely like a hardening up of that, where like running in parallel with like, man, we might have to fight these gangsters if like we get caught like in this in this back alley or in this like ditch behind the houses, you know what I mean? So like there was like a territory thing happening, so that was interesting. That was an interesting sort of growth and development phase of like and then fast forward, and I'll circle around to a few things here where it was like graffiti culture for me, like it gave me so much and it opened so many doors, but then it also it started dictating a certain lifestyle that like a lot of people, in the culture started, becoming a part of. And it got really toxic and dysfunctional for me for a while. You know what I mean? It was almost like Peter Pan forever. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to grow up. I'm just gonna like, do all types of like unordinary things, but also extraordinary things to like survive. And, you know, and it was like, I'm not going to do a 9 to 5. I'm just going to do this instead.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that shaped a lot. And even the toxins from the paint after a while started affecting me heavily. Yeah.
Never
So like,
considered that,
yeah, so like the fumes and, you know, things like this, I started getting really sick.
Really?
And so I realized like I got to take a break from it. And that's sort of around the time where a really deep healing journey began in my life, when I was around 34, where I was like, all right, I got to pause all this and just start healing my body. I started detoxing. I started working with plant medicines. I completely 180 pivoted into like a whole different spectrum of reality.
Yeah.
But I had to let a lot of that like past go.
Right,
You know, like old ways of doing things.
That's a major transformation.
It was.
I can imagine.
It was, yeah. It was
Was that
interesting.
difficult
Absolutely.
to let go of? Yeah.
Yeah. But it, you know, for me, it was like a moment where it was probably after several like near-death experiences and like a few overdoses, and like waking up and still being alive and being like, well, I'll get another chance, you know, and it's like almost like that rock bottom, like my face hit the concrete like a few times, like like, you know, metaphorically speaking, where it's like you have to have that big sort of like, you know, fall, and also like my health was not good.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I would say that like martial arts completely helped me shift out of. You know, it was like a lot of like toxic energy, and like I got my health back online. And yeah, I'm so grateful for that. But it was difficult. It wasn't like an easy thing to just be like, all right, I'm done with that. You know, it took.
Right.
I would say I'm still in it. You know, I was like going on 8 years later, where you know it's it requires practice and attention still. You know, to be like.
Yeah.
You know, calibrated to this like new format. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you lost a lot of connections, right? You had to develop a whole new like social circle.
Yeah. And interestingly, like it was cool when I had like really like decided to like leave that environment and like cut a lot of ties. Where like when I finally upgraded myself and like transformed into like a new way of being, I was transmitting a new light. A lot of people from the past started reaching out to me like, hey, like, I need help. How did you do that?
Really?
And so that was like my big sort of like, aha, like, you know, message from source, from God, where it was like, now you have to start passing this information off to others to help them.
Yeah.
So like initially I began being a recovery coach. Like, so people coming out of like heavy alcoholism and drugs, I was like helping them get back on track. And then getting to Austin, it was like, wow, this is like one of the coaching epicenters. So like, it just kind of, it just happened naturally, where it's like, okay, now I'm developing in, you know, coaching, and I had already began my work as a body work and as a healer, energy worker, and sound healing practitioner. So that all happened. I can just say this, like, to sum it all up, like, because I detoxed and like what I did was like make a lot of space in my system, you know, like where it was just kind of like filled to the max with like partying and all the things and like traveling so much from point, you know, just kind of like never stopping to do anything. When I finally like paused and started healing, I had the capacity for all this other stuff and training to come online. And I had like, you know, availability in my system to receive it now, you know, because I let go of so much, and I cut so many ties. You know, so that's just the way it's been working out for me. And you know,
That's super interesting. I mean, the way you had put it, like it almost seems like to me that that previous lifestyle, there was just like a lot of clutter, you know, a lot of like haziness and fog, and then all of a sudden, once you sort of just cut it out, like there's clarity for one, but then there's all this space, all the space and time. You're just like, wow, there's so many other things that you can be doing, you know, and like working on.
Yeah. It's like cleaning up your house, you know. It's like cleaning out your closet or your storage, you know what I mean? Like, for years I'd have like storages in multiple cities. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I was just like, all this stuff is just like, I'm just collecting it, you know? So when I started like doing the internal work, I started like just selling things off, garage sales, and it's like all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm just like I'm moving so lightly now. It's just like I don't have this like big heavy thing on my back that I'm carrying around. You know? Like, whoa, okay. So there's like, then you can just like be clear on like what you want to do, what you want to like, oh, this thing came, you know, I came across this sounds interesting, I want to try that, you know, and like you have like more space to do things.
Right,
you know, like moving
that's so
easier,
interesting. So you did an internal like sort of cleansing and external. That is so fascinating. Wow, and it all came together.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's definitely inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what is it exactly now that you do with your practice? You said sound healing, and what are some of the other?
Yeah, so I started training body work in body. Well, you know,
So
it's like
what is that exactly? Yeah.
So yeah, people ask that. That's a good question. Just be like, what is that, like massage? And then I'll be like, yes, it is, and it's more than just a massage. It's, you know, there's so many different bodywork modalities, from like myofascial deep tissue to, you know, Thai yoga, rebalancing, Rolfing. There's all these different types of, you know, structural help modalities, like for the human body, say like physical, but then there's also non-physical things that like that we operate in. So like, you know, you've heard things probably about like the aura and the chakras and the energy meridian. So like the way that I like to work is like I work with touch on the physical body, but then I also work with hands off, of like feeling where there could be blockages in energy channels, in chakras, in your aura, things of that nature. And then even deeper with like the sound, because the sound works on like even like a cellular and like water mitochondrial level in the body, where it's like able to like, you know, really just like reset thoughts to allow you to have like deep healing processes. So yeah, this is interesting. Whereas again, like when I finally like made space for it, I was remembering like, oh, I was always the family like masseuse, like where it'd be like my grandma or my aunt would be like my shoulder, and I'd always be over there like giving massages since I was a kid, or like my stomach hurts, and I'd always be like, oh, I know where it's at, and I'd be like, I don't know why, I would just press something and I would feel something on my sister's stomach, and then she'd be like, oh my God, something's moving, and I'd be like, I feel better. I'm like, okay, well, what is that, right? I didn't know what that was, and then when I finally had the space to realize like, oh, like these are special hands, these are meant to be put on people to help them heal. And then I started training. And so, yeah, here I am, you know, 8 years later, after many trainings and many apprenticeships. And you know, this is me putting this together in my way now, where I call it Whole Sky Healing Arts. So it's like a mix of body, energy, sound, and visual art that I bring into, you know, it's like a full spectrum help frequency that helps people heal, helps people activate their own internal healing systems. Because like the human body, we're designed to heal. It's like, that's just it, you know, like you cut a blade of grass, it's gonna grow back, right? It doesn't grow back if it's not watered, right? So like there's all these different components, but like, you know, it just shows you, nature just shows you like every season, you know what I mean? There's like the spring, it grows, the summer, it gets really hot, starts, you know, getting burnt, and then it starts falling away. But then again, you know, the winter, it's just fully closed off, and then again in the spring, it starts growing again. So we're the same way, you know, we just have to remember that sometimes it's a slower process, and like we just have to allow it that space for it to like actually start happening, or for like the change and for the growth to occur. So like many of us, and myself included, I got just so stuck and blocked in that like everything was filled to the max. And so like it starts feeling like almost like quicksand that you're walking in after a while, because you haven't let anything go, you haven't purged, you haven't detoxed. There's like a big thing that I help people with now. And for me included, like when I first started this healing process, I fasted and I did a master cleanse, which is like just water, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup for 10 days. That's all I drank.
Oh, wow.
And I had such a profound just like clearing and clarity and like discharge of like old stuff and old gunk that was in my system, you know, it's absolutely incredible. So you asked the question of like, what is it that I do? And here in Austin, I work with people, individuals, one-on-one, for just depending on what's going on, you know, showing up in the moment of like, we have a chat and a counsel about like, you know, if it's like emotional things or if it's physical things, and I'm able to gauge, you know, what I can help them with the modalities that I carry, whether it be like a bodywork session, stretching, alignment, some tendons and ligaments maybe you have to get put back into place, or if it's a deeper, you know, emotional or energetic thing that's happening,
Yeah.
just depending on what's going on. And I also, so like I said, I work with people in recovery, but I also just, to me, the word recovery, it's like we're all recovering something. We're all like trying to put the pieces back together of like something that we forgot or that we have to remember, right? And a lot of us, and I notice even the people I work with, like from like the person that's smoking too much weed, that's like they're checking out from something, or the person that's drinking too much alcohol.
Yeah.
Everybody's sort of checking out from something. They don't want to face some feeling or some emotion that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So they're just being like, this thing's coming, I don't feel good, I'm gonna go hit the bottle, or like I'm gonna go eat all this bag of Oreo cookies and just like forget about, or I'm gonna go play these video games and just kind of like turn this off. So it's like, it's kind of the same thing that everybody's dealing with. Everybody's dealing with their distractions.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like, they're
sure.
not wanting to face something that is really being shown to them that I really think is calling them to play the bigger game, to like really upgrade, whatever that is. It could just be like an emotional intelligence jump that they're like, they have to pass. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like a lot of people are just, they're complacent. They want to stay stuck, or they don't even know how to get out of it, which is kind of crazy.
Or let alone like realize that it's even happening.
Or let alone realize it's even happening. Yeah, good point.
Just because.
It just gets very normalized. You're stuck in what you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's just becomes your normal day to day, you're just kind of like miserable or whatever, or you have like aches and pains, or, anything from like the physical to the emotional, mental. Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, so, I mean, your practice seems very holistic, right? It's an entirely holistic approach. And so you're able to offer, I guess you could, for lack of better terms, you could call it like psychological help as well, too.
Totally. Yeah, mental health stuff.
You provide sort of guidance. Wow, that's amazing. And with the physical aspect, do you get people that are recovering from injuries and stuff like that too, or they just been injured?
Yeah, all types from like, post-injury stuff to even like working with people that have like chronic illnesses and things. It's kind of wild and amazing, and just, sometimes I'll share this, but like I actually helped someone get their diabetes into remission.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's on a psycho-spiritual level that I help people with, and it's really like helping them come to the reality that they are the master creator of their program, and like just really kind of helping them pick out the beliefs that and the beliefs that are connected to the feelings that are present in their body. So like something like with a disease, you know what I mean, and like the thoughts associated with like, you know what I mean? Like, this is it. This is the end. You know what I mean? Like, and they're like, I help steer them off that path back to like, hey, no, the body's actually designed to heal. You just have to give it some space.
Right.
And like, let's show you how to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's just like a simple way that I, can explain like, several kind of, or big things that I've helped people with.
Yeah.
Diabetes being one of them, which is pretty awesome.
That makes sense. Wow. Could you talk about that case a little bit more, or is it like sort of like?
Sure. It was actually, I can speak a little bit about it. It was pretty interesting. It was like in Long Beach. It was in, in the hood too, man. It was wild. It was like outside in his backyard, like he's on the concrete, and there's like firecrackers going off. There's like just kind of like wild stuff happening, and like all I did just a sound session with him for about 30 minutes. Yeah. So I think that like, we had a talk before and after, and whatever happened, it really just, it ignited something in him to like believe something differently, and he was close to the end at that point.
Really?
And he was on dialysis and none of that anymore, and he's doing a lot better.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and you had like so much stimulus around. How do you deal with that?
It's interesting you say that. Yeah, well, for me, sound is a really interesting component. I like to work with sound where sound is where I meet it. So like whatever is present is part of the container that I'm working in. With like, if someone sets an intention right now with me, I'm gonna set that same intention at the same moment. But then there could be a plane flying by. There could be a dog barking. There could be a guy coming with a weed whacker. So it's all kind of, it all makes sense to me in the space where it's like, it all has symbolism for whatever is happening in that moment. You know, because this is just, it's all happening right now. This is all simultaneously, like, when we put something out as an intention to heal something, automatically you're just going to get all the support you need. It's like everything's going to show up. A lot of people never even come to that realization that they just have to like ask for something or be like, I'm ready to do something, enough is enough, you know. And it's like we have all these antennas around us that are almost invisible, you know, they're in different fields. And so like all of a sudden it's like, bing, I'm sending off the signal that I need help for something. We're like, okay, well, let's send you some support. And so like for sound, it all comes in like, I hear weed whacker right now. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. Like that to me is like, okay, there's some work going on. You know, there's something has to get worked on.
Right.
You know, there's different symbols that I like to use, and you know, or this crow flew by and started like squawking as soon as I talked about something. Or, you know.
It's sort of like a very, you're just very present, right? And in tune with like the surroundings and what's happening, and you're just a part of it.
And I think for this person too, it was like, that was his natural environment that I was in, you know, like the firecrackers, you know, the shouting, you know, kind of like the kind of strong frenetic energy, you know, and then, but then I'm bringing in this whole other like tuning to it, you know, and vibrations, you know, in different frequencies. So like meeting it and yeah, it just sounded super interesting.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I've been interested in sound recently. I think what sparked it was, I don't know, do you happen to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast?
Sometimes I do, yeah.
Gosh, I can't remember his name now, but he's one of the proponents of the younger, driest impact theory. Are you familiar with that one?
I don't know if I saw that one.
Well, either way, it's not Graham Hancock.
Oh.
It's another gentleman that's been on with him. Randall Carlson.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had, one of the episodes he was on, he briefly mentioned talking about like ancient technologies and stuff like that. How they are speculating now, him and a team of some other engineers, I believe, or something like that, are looking into possible technologies that require sound, or that's like their main medium. And I was just like, oh my god, I was super like, you know, fascinated by that. But then he's like, but we haven't concluded anything yet, so we're still working on it. And he's like, maybe I'll come back, you know, in a few years and we can talk about it then. And now I'm just like waiting for it ever since then. Like,
I really think a lot of this is being unveiled right now as we speak. I mean, people, even these conversations are so helpful for like whoever's watching to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's like there's some resonance there that I feel is like true in me. You know, but I've been on this for a while, just like, you know, on the sound frequency research team of like, all right, well, I can see so many benefits just from the clients that I work with, just, you know, simply coming in and laying on the table, breathing and like listening to sound and like them, you know, recounting what happened and be like, you know, my ancestor came to me, my grandma, she showed me this, you know, like, a bald eagle put me on its back and flew me to the top of this tree and showed me this book, and this book is connected to boom, 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 and I'm like, whoa, okay, this is wild. Right? So yeah, it really allows you to tune into your innate, inherent ability to really like travel, like not astrally, cosmically. There's all these different like zones, probably more than I even know, and maybe any of us know, you know, but there's there's so much out there that like we're remembering right now, you know, like I like to call this like the human technology. It's like we're barely scratching the surface, but I feel it's coming in a big wave right now that we're gonna actually like, oh wait, no, this is not just a meat suit, this is actually highly intelligent technology that we're remembering how to use, you know, and like sound is a big part of it. Sound is a huge part of it.
Because it's constantly, obviously there's always, it's generally understood to be like waves, right, that are passing through whatever medium space that we're occupying at the time, and like our bodies are essentially receivers. Would you agree to that? Like,
agreed.
You know,
Transmitters and receivers.
Transmitters and receivers, right? Like, so it's emitting whatever messages, and it's also receiving
Yep.
messages constantly.
Constantly.
And so much of it, we're just completely absent-minded of it. But like the body's doing it, and, you know, and
Right.
there's that intelligence
That's
there
it.
that's happening. Yeah.
That's totally it.
Yeah, I find that stuff super fascinating. And yeah, like I said, since hearing him talk about that, I'm like, oh boy, what have they discovered? Like,
Yeah. I think there's like so many, there's so much evidence of like different timelines that have like been like, well, how did they do this? And like, it kind of comes to the final point of like, there has to be some sort of sound. I think it's more than sound. I think it's like many elements and many natural forces together
Right.
with sound that like creates this thing, or like helps to do this thing, helps to move this stone, helps to heal, whatever it is. You
Yeah.
know, like even, you know, probably in the not so distant past of like, you know, we talked about before we started, you know, you were like, oh, old world, right? Like
Yes,
just even
yeah.
the cathedrals, you know, if you go to St. Mary's Cathedral, downtown Austin by the Capitol building,
Okay.
and you stand out front of it and look up, you'll see this beautiful stained glass window with like a geometric shape. And so I've noted, and many people know this already, but these shapes they're cymatic stamps. So they're basically, what that symbol is, it's a frequency. So if you look at like, if you tune something to say like 454 on, you know, on a little petri dish with sand, it'll make a shape. And then you turn it to 457, it'll make another shape.
Yeah.
So if you can match that to those stained glass windows on the cathedral. So I think that cathedrals are actually sound healing centers in some timeline.
Yeah.
In the not so distant past. And you know, you go into mostly every one of them and they'll have an organ in there, like a super ancient organ that's not even in use anymore. It's just like kind of up in the rafter. You know what I mean?
Right.
I really do think that those places were really aligned and created for people to go in and receive some sort of energy upgrade, and just, it's really just like charging the battery pack of like listening to these sounds, listening to these frequencies. And people knew which one was which, because they're like, oh, that one's 457. I want to go to that one. I want to go to St. Mary's Cathedral. Before it was called St. Mary's Cathedral.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
This is more than just like an abstract like idea. I think that, you know, really, you know, there's a lot of research on this right now that's going around.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I have been paying attention to some of that, and I'm familiar with those ideas, and yeah, I too. I also believe that there's definitely something to that, because it is like, you know, they call it a congregation, right? And you get all these people together in this, like, I don't even know how you could refer to the building itself, but it seems to promote whatever sort of, like, for lack of better terms, like energies or, you know, frequencies that are occurring there.
Totally.
Even with the people gathered there as well, because everyone gets on the same frequency, so
Exactly.
to speak, right?
Exactly.
In their state of worship or whatever it is that they're doing there, and celebrations and things like that. And then, yeah, just to find out that, you know, the buildings are constructed certain ways that might harness certain pathways for these, like, energy sources to be traveling through or whatever, you know. It's all super fascinating.
It is, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
Yeah.
a lot of it makes so much sense too, because, you know, you have questions like, well, how was this even like done, for one? And secondly, like,
I know.
why is it built the way that it's built, you know?
They're so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love venturing and researching them and visiting them.
Yeah. And then the stained glass windows, like, I hadn't heard that one before, where they're actually made to look like the frequency.
The frequency stamp, yeah. So like
Yeah.
cymatic, yeah. If you look up cymatic, it's just like, you'll see just like all these beautiful. They look like flowers and like, you know, sacred geometry shapes. You know, but they all match a certain frequency.
Yeah.
They're all like yeah.
That's so cool.
So there's labels there that we didn't know.
Right, exactly. There's labels, and it's like there's some sort of label, and like I think the civilizations in the older worlds knew like, oh, what's what, because they're like, there's the label. It wasn't like a, you know, like some handwritten sign or like neon lights of
Get
like,
this frequency.
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, that's that. We're gonna go here. I don't know. That's cool to me. I like.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. There was some information I'd come across that really captured my interest when, I believe it was after or during the First World War or Second. I can't remember which one, but it was one of the major world wars. They had taken down several structures and like what we might consider temples and things like that, and they took a lot of the bells from them, all the metals, to make ammunition, weapons, and stuff like that. They like melted them down and things like that. But yeah, I remember seeing pictures of just like fields and fields of bells. Like large bells. I'm like, what were these people using those for?
Exactly.
Like, why are they so prevalent?
That is a good one.
And like, yeah, anytime. Like, I was telling her recently actually that I want to get some wind chimes. In the very least, you know, just to like go sit outside every now and then and just like listen to them blow in the wind.
It is so just soothing, and yeah, it just helps so much.
Yeah. Even in that regard too, if you don't want to take it to the next level of like some sort of astral projection or spiritual like understanding, you know, just at the most basic level.
Relaxation.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I have definitely done that. I think my first like experience with the frequencies was there's a term for it. It's very common, but you just listen to frequencies for a little bit, and I would just do that in my headphones, but then I kind of felt like, how do I know if I'm really getting the right frequency through headphones?
That's interesting. Yeah. So that makes me wonder, does it matter what sort of like format it's being presented, or like I guess like the modality that's being utilized, you know?
Good point. I mean, I definitely have been, you know, researching this, and, you know, I do group programs on Zoom, and at the beginning I was like actually transmitting live, and sometimes, you know, beyond just even like the sound, like if there's a connectivity and an intention with like people that are all kind of like you said, like a congregation of like we're setting our frequency or like connecting to each other somehow. I mean, I've seen stuff work at a distance, even when the Zoom connection was not good, when it was like choppy, you know, or like sounds kind of like pitching out over the microphone, and like people listening to it on the other side, and it would still be like, wow, I still had a profound experience. But, you know, for me, just, you know, as a sound provider, sound medicine provider, I like to dial it in as I move along. So now I've made proper recordings that I can just like share a link, you know, and like, you know, people will say like, you know, even just over the headphones, it's like very effective, very, very effective. And like live stuff too is great because you could actually like feel it on your body, you know, but like, yeah, interesting point. I think that like they both work and all of them work, you know, they just have different, you know, there are different qualities.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, even though I wasn't sure, it was still, you're okay. It was still very helpful. It was during like probably one of the most stressful times in my previous marriage, and it was just like, I need something. I have to have something that'll help a little bit. And it was my first experience with like, okay, how do I heal myself? I'd always been into like psychology and stuff like that, but I was like, I think I need something just a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Whenever you're with your clients, do you ever, I guess, let me see how I can figure this out. Like, are you experiencing something along with them, or do you have to like separate yourself because sound is so enveloping?
Yeah, it could be a mixture of both, just depending on, you know, what's happening or what's going on. You know, sometimes I'll get clues or visions or things to share. For me, it's very on like a feeling and color spectrum level, where like I'll start sensing something in my body happening, or like, you know, like almost like goosebumps or like a surge of energy start happening, and or else I start seeing like lights around the room, or like just even with my eyes closed, like my, you know, it'll just turn violet or it'll turn blue, you know. So like those are some clues that I work with, you know, if I can see them with the client. You know, that's the way that I like to operate. But, you know, I don't take too deep of looks into like people's stuff. You know, it's more just like if a message comes out, cool, I'll share it. But I'm not like, I see this, I see that, I'm like, you got to do this, you know. I'm like, so let everyone have their own experience, and you know. But I think like as far as like enveloping, there are ways that, you know, I can definitely connect as like a clear vessel and not have to take on too much of like what they got going on. Yeah. You know. But it took me a while to learn that.
Yeah. Is it overwhelming to
begin with?
Maybe at the beginning it was definitely like I'm, you know, like, are you okay after, do you do like 3 or 4 sessions a day? Like, no, I'm good. But then like, really, you know, like I feel a little bit drained or something, you know? So, you know, exercise has been super important to me. And like, you know, just really like charging myself up and like sweating, or, you know, I'll go jump in Barton Springs. That's part of my you know, my energetic cleansing etiquette, where it's like, I definitely will just keep constantly cleaning and purifying
Yeah.
myself like
Yeah.
throughout the
We
week.
love Barton Springs.
Yeah.
We've seen you there number.
Yeah,
number of
that's right.
times.
That's right. That's right. That's the spot.
We enjoy that place a lot.
That's the
Yeah, we
spot.
try to get out there as much as possible as well, but yeah, it doesn't always work out.
So do people come to you like with specific ailments, or they know what they're going through, or do you ever help people like identify things?
Yeah, all of it at once. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people that come to, I would say the majority of people that come and find me, they're on the precipice of a big shift in their life. And it's like, I seem to be this like shift catalyst where like I can work on a few things and make some alignments and some adjustments and like help them remove some blocks that all of a sudden they're like, oh, wow, okay. And then, boom, and then they're like, going like straight in the direction of what that thing is that they wanted to do,
cool.
you know, but then there's like pain and injury stuff too that I'm like helping with. Big things that I help people with are insomnia and nervous system regulation. Those have just been like baseline things, and like especially with the sound stuff, like the sound medicine seems to get people in like a deeply relaxed space so that they can start getting really good sleep at night. And that is like a nervous system regulator in itself. You know what I mean? Where we're like, wow, I'm waking up revitalized and refreshed, and like, you know, getting like cutting out all of that like static that's been going on in the mind and also in the nervous system.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, sleep is like the key to health.
Oh my God, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
And it's fun to do too. It's one of my favorite things.
Go take a nap.
Oh my goodness, naps are amazing. I was telling somebody at work yesterday, I was like, I had an amazing 11-minute nap. And they were like, 11 minutes? I was like, yeah, that's all I had.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yes.
Exactly.
It was like exactly what I needed. I think if I didn't have that, it would have been a harder day. So I was like, I'm so glad. And they're like, I can never do that. And I was like, you've never had a cat nap? And they're like, no. It's like, I think my best one is like 6 minutes.
A good 6 minutes. It is helpful. It's super helpful.
Yeah, even just to just like deep relax. If you don't actually like fall asleep, but just let your body unwind.
Oh yeah, there is some sort of methodology that you can use, right? Like where you just go into a state of deep rest,
Yeah.
like right before falling asleep, and then you like you can feel a little boost of energy after that.
Yeah. I came up with this an acronym or just way to talk about depression, because there's a lot of people that they say they're depressed, right?
You're
It's
right.
like-
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, just go get some deep rest,
Oh, cool.
and then you're gonna like flip that. You know,
Yeah.
it's really like it's in the word right there. Just like I like to use little
Right.
clues like that. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. So you like make the association.
Make the association. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's in the. I have an idea, but I don't know how to express it. Like it's in the sound of it, right? Like
Right.
what you said,
Right, right.
depression, go get some deep rest. Then.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. So I was curious when you said sometimes when you're doing these sessions, you get like messages or like signals and things like that. What was it like for you trying to interpret those, or even like acknowledging that you might need to interpret those to mean something, or how did you decide like, oh, I should just keep that to myself or share it with my client at the time? You know, what's that whole experience like?
This is a good point. It is a fine line to walk where it's like, do I share nothing? Do I share, or if I share, is it going to be too much? You know, so it's definitely a dance of like, I like for people to have their own experience, at least even for the first 48 hours. And then I like to circle back with people like 1 or 2 days after we have a session, just be like, oh, I had more time to gestate this, to process this, to integrate this. And then even in that time, sometimes I get more messages where it's like, I'm thinking about the session, or like I get a little clue, or I have a dream at night and have a message for this person. So again, space. For me, it's like space is grace all the way around. Like the more space you can give something and not be like, this is what I saw in your session, like right after, you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Like just give me some like time to chill here, you know what I mean? I mean, I know that for me, like I like to work like that. Like if someone works on me, I like to just be like, let me just have my own. I like to go take a nap usually after
Nice.
getting like a deep session like that.
Okay.
You know, so that's if I can.
Yeah, right.
But that's a really good point to reiterate and just to mention for everybody. It's like really like making space for like rest and naps is like so important right now.
Yeah.
You know, even like, you know, take away like 30 minutes that you would be scrolling on your phone and just like rest instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can all do that. I
Yeah.
think.
That's true. Yeah. We don't allow ourselves to do that enough, really, because we're constantly on the go. It seems like. I mean, even with this, you know, it's like we started doing this podcast, and it's like, well, when are we going to have the time to actually do it? You know, because it feels like we're always constantly on the go. Yeah. But yeah, we just like. I think I told her, I was like, we just have to do it. We have to make the space.
make
You know.
time.
There it is. You did it.
Right.
Here we are.
And so originally, actually, the idea was we had downtime when we would go do our laundry over, you know, at the washateria. It's like, what can we do at this time? It's like, we would listen to podcasts, you know, or watch YouTube videos or something. And I was like, we should just do our own.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, we can record it like right now while we're waiting. And so we did a few episodes like that, but the environment wasn't the best because, you know, we came
loud.
Yeah.
People walking in the shot, and we just like, we're gonna blur out their faces.
Green screen it.
Yeah, there's people like banging on the machines because they're always breaking, you know.
Yeah.
Just like,
Walk over there. Are you doing okay? We want to talk to you.
so, yeah. But I mean, gosh, one time we had like a homeless woman, unfortunately, like kind of harass us for a little bit, you know. And I don't know if she was like on a trip or whatever. I mean, just being in that state, generally speaking, you know, you're very unwell. So, yeah, she was just kind of going through it. And like I gave her the slightest, you know, notice, I guess you could say, or like I gave her an inch as the saying goes, you know. And yeah, she took the whole freaking mile. Like, yeah, I was just like, oh man. And I had to get like sort of assertive, you know, and I don't like doing that. Like, I mean, it's a scary situation too, you know, because she was just coming at us like super hard. And so, but yeah, so there was lots of things that kind of went into
Like deciding to do it differently.
yeah, we probably can't do it here anymore.
That was a signal.
Yeah.
She could have been the first guest on the show.
You know?
Yeah, really.
That would have been great. We had some questions.
Yeah. Yeah, it also felt kind of uncomfortable. We're like, well, where do we draw the line? Like, do we just go interview random people? Like, I don't know how I feel about that whole method that a lot of, I guess, influencers or YouTubers are using now.
Like street interviews.
Yeah, they just go and like bother people. Well, I mean, not bother, but that's kind of how I look at it, I guess, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes it seems like that, and they use some of the footage that they're like, somebody is not interested in it, and they're going to be like,
They use it for their favor to be like, oh,
yeah, it just seems a bit invasive, you know, and exploitive too. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
for
well,
sure.
that's not cool.
hey, lots of things can be that way.
Well, I appreciate the organic opening for this, and you know, seeing each other at the gym and at the springs, and be like, hey.
Yeah, that was really nice. I remember.
That felt good.
I had seen you at the springs before, and I was like, "Doesn't that guy goes to 10th Planet?" I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Right before we had met, I think I had definitely seen you there.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And man, that the gym has been. I mean, we talk about it so much, but we've been so fortunate to like have signed up, you know, and started going. We've met so many great people there.
Totally.
And
So
like,
many surprising stories.
yeah, and the community is just great. Like I love how everyone comes from all different walks of life, but we have that one interest, you know. And that's where it all like starts.
When
off
did you start jujitsu?
Well, let's see. At 10th Planet, I guess it was like October of 2020. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
That was right. That was kind of towards the end, I guess. Right. Everything was
The first year.
There was things like tensions were still high for sure. But yeah.
I guess no. I would say I wasn't consistent. I went and I checked it out, and then when I ended up fully committing to staying in Austin in April of 21 is when I officially like joined the gym.
Yeah. What sparked your interest in the martial arts?
Yeah, I got into martial arts early on when I was 25. I got into Kung Fu first. I was in the Bay Area. And then my Kung Fu school, Dragon House, turned into like an MMA school, which was like
really?
early on. It was like 2006, 2007.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I was already started doing like grappling back then, and some like, you know, early stages of jiu-jitsu, but it wasn't, you know, my teacher was just basically, now he's a Gracie black belt, but he kind of built up from there. You know, but he was already, you know, He's a kung fu master.
Yeah.
And like we're doing like a lot of interesting stuff, like Mongolian wrestling we're doing, and like Sansao, which is like Chinese kickboxing. So it was like it was an interesting mixed martial arts school that I was like going to out there. So that's when I got into it.
Yeah.
And then I took a long time off. I literally took off like almost, I guess, like 10 years. I was just like, and then I started training again when I was upstate New York at Evolution BJJ in Beacon, New York, in the Hudson Valley.
Do they have, is that franchise, or do they have several schools?
No, he just has one, Mike Palladino. And Mike, I told him I was moving to Austin, and he's the one that was like, check out 10 Planet. Like, he's the one that kind of gave me the nudge to be like, go check out 10 Planet. It's a good school.
Nice.
So yeah, I took his advice, and here I am. Yeah.
Nice, yeah. Do you do any competing with jiu-jitsu, or is it just...
I have done a few competitions, but yeah, I mean, super fun. I'll probably do more.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's not going to be my career path, but
Right. But I mean, I think it's really fun that we get, like, as adults, we just get to like compete if we want to.
Yeah, I know.
Up for...
Thursday Night Jiu-Jitsu, awesome. I've done 2 of them. I think I did a grappling industry once,
nice.
which is cool.
Really cool. Yeah. I think that's fun for us.
Did you do any of the 3-on-3?
I did a 3-on-3.
Okay,
that was fun.
so,
That was fun.
That was wild.
That was a wild day. We got to do some more of those. Bring it back.
Yeah, really. That was
Yes, please.
That was the
a
in-house
lot of
one,
fun.
right? Yeah,
At 10 Planet. Was that
got rowdy.
Was that a rated, or was that Kamoy's thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I guess something
really?
to do with it.
With the circle on the ground.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now he's got main character, so you
Yeah,
gotta sign up for main
main
character.
Everybody's upgrading.
Yeah.
For real.
the nature of
Lots
things.
of movements. That's true.
That's been fun. Have you gone to a main character event yet?
Not yet. Not yet. I want to go down to check out that spot. I heard it's cool.
Yeah, we went to not this past one that just happened, but the one before, right?
The one before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this
It was
last
real
main
fun.
character was great to watch. It was fun. And then seeing Joseph Chen and, I forgot his name.
Oh yeah, Varela.
Yeah.
Andy Varela.
Andy, yeah. Andy. It took me a second
That's so
too.
fun. I mean, it's like a preview
Yeah.
almost to like what they're about to be heading at. Well, I don't know if they're in the same. Yeah, I think
The
they're
same
in
bracket?
weight, yeah.
I think they just also too. I just saw that that match is free on YouTube now, so you
Yeah,
can
it
watch
just
that
went
match.
out.
Yeah, that's cool.
For which one?
For the main
main characters.
main
characters.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah, they just put theirs up on YouTube.
Okay.
But they're in CJI, so that's pretty wild that they just.
Oh, they're both in CGI. Okay, yeah, the Craig Jones Invitational. Yeah, that's wild what that guy did, Craig Jones.
Yeah.
Props.
I'm irrationally excited to see this.
Same. I want to try to go now. We'll at least watch it for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be
definitely.
free on YouTube and on Facebook. Like, incredible.
It's
He's-
free, really?
Yeah, he's going
Oh,
to be
that's
streaming
awesome.
it live.
I didn't know that.
He's changing the game. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah.
About it. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the very least, he's providing another outlet, right, for players and athletes. So that's amazing. And I heard, so what was it? Does everyone get there's $1 million cash prize, right?
I think both brackets have $1 million cash prize, and every competitor gets 10,000
that
ones.
One. I love that.
10,001? That's awesome. Oh, that's right. Yeah, didn't he say, like, I'll personally be providing the extra dollar for everyone?
Yeah. Smart
awesome.
moves. They were great. He definitely was on a mission and decided to, make that a real reality. Like,
Yeah, it's super awesome.
intense.
Inspirational for sure.
So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. He seems like a pretty wise businessman, for sure. I mean, have you ever been out to B Team?
I've never been there.
No, yeah,
no.
neither have we.
Just all the guys
It's
that come
enticing
and,
for sure.
and train on
Yeah, they're
Saturdays,
always there,
Sundays. They're always
right?
there. They
Yeah.
all seem like cool cats.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, Tony
Lugo, yeah.
last name? Yeah, he teaches the 6 a.m. classes at 10th Planet.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He does
Yeah.
3 days.
And he's a regular, what would you call
At
it?
B Team.
B
I
Team
think he does some of their
participant, right?
videos
Cool.
and stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and he does a lot of filming for them and editing, I think, too, most likely. But
Rad.
yeah, that guy's really cool. We used to go to his 6 a.m. class all the time. It was
Loved
fun.
learning from him.
Yeah. He always, I like the way he structured his classes for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I think some of the girls went to B Team, but they have a white belt program, and it was cool to see. And they said that they really enjoyed it. They felt really good there, so that's cool.
yeah,
I just love how the jiu-jitsu community is like a good community. Like, it seems really welcoming. Like, everyone's just trying to learn. I haven't seen like bad apples. Like
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely like rumors of like people that are harmful, and it seems like everyone's kind of
Stays away.
Yeah.
Yeah, steers clear.
Yeah, and I think back in the day too, it wasn't like that, right? Like it wasn't as welcoming. Everyone was still very much like, oh, we're this school, like we're a Gracie school, we're a Machado school or whatever. But I guess I think there was a lot more beef back in the day. It seemed like.
Did you ever see any of that in your kung fu times?
You know, back then it was really interesting. The Kung Fu times were wild. It was like, you know, we definitely practiced like bare knuckle sparring in my school.
Really?
Which was like pretty wild.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like, it was intense. Like back in when I was 20, you know, it was 2005. I was like, wow, we're not even using any gloves right now.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty nuts. But it was like Bay Area was definitely like, there was an aggression, like, you know, between schools for sure.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Competition. Oh my
You
goodness.
see that happening, like the old what are they called? Dojo stormers. Where people go to
Dojo
like different
stormers,
dojos and
yeah.
like challenge them.
Challenge them, yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. I think the Gracies really made it popular though because they essentially promoted their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through that. You know, people would come and challenge them at their schools all the time, or they'd go to other people's schools, or even out on the streets too. They would challenge people.
gosh.
Like, yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. It wasn't like the more traditional, like humble, peaceful martial artist type of lifestyle that most people would associate, I guess, with
Yeah.
martial arts. It was very like, I don't know, aggressive. Yeah.
Territorial, yeah, like you said.
That's crazy.
And,
Have you attained any injuries that you've had to deal with and you have
Oh,
guided
yeah.
yourself through?
yeah, for sure. Some have been a bit gnarly, definitely. You
Yeah.
know, like meniscus injury,
Meniscus.
knee stuff, yeah. But here I am, and I feel like I'm at a good level right now where I'm like I'm not getting injured. I think it's just like I'm safer now, you know. It's
Okay.
also like, you know, I guess jiu-jitsu is about like calming yourself down and like, you know, amidst, you know, terrible
Yeah.
terrible chokes and positions
Yeah.
and, you know,
That's some of my
things that are
favorite,
happening.
like-
But yeah, I feel like also just, you know, conditioned better now and
Okay.
you know, I feel like diet has been better, joint mobility, flexibility on all front. I feel like I'm pretty dialed right now, so like
Nice.
I don't feel as like rocked by rolling a lot right now.
Well, I'm really interested in that. Do you have something?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, I want to know if you can just talk a little bit more about your particular practices, you know, and how you maintain yourself at a
that's
healthy
exactly what I was
level
thinking.
and like you take care of your body. Like, what sort of things do you do? Have you been able to apply some of your newer found practices to martial arts training?
Great question. I would say like I'm just such a huge advocate and proponent of longevity and like I'm 44 years old. I feel like I'm 25. I feel better than I felt when I was training when I was 25.
Amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
so envious right now.
But you know, to me, it's a lot of, you know, attention on the presence and the components and the flexibility and the joint mobility and the strength training. Yoga is a big thing that I'm into also right now, you know, which it feels like, you know, it just helps so much on so many levels, you know. It helps protect me, it helps my flexibility, it helps my game, it actually helps my strength too. And just like, you know, recovery wise, like just really making that a point, you know, like Barton Springs, I think is a great place that we have here to like just get into that cold water, you know. So yeah, I'm all about it. You know, my diet is a lot cleaner.
What sort of diet do you
Yeah, that's what I was
you
curious about.
have?
You know, I'm a bit on the meat and fruit diet, but I also, you know, I definitely have my veggies, but I'm not eating. I cook every meal by myself.
Really?
Like, I just like I'm cooking like hardly ever go out to eat anything outside anymore. So that's just one big point that I, you know, I think that's like keeping me in really good shape. Where it's like I'm making my own food. I think it's like if you put love into your food, I think it's good. I think it's really good for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Where do you source it from? Do you get like
HEB,
Okay.
you know, Central Market sometimes.
All right.
I've been doing the farm store at 10th Planet,
Oh, right,
which
right.
is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I've really been digging the raw milk stuff that they've been having there.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's all good
All right.
there.
Yeah, we're real curious about that.
Yeah, we try to stay on like a fruit and meat diet as
Yeah.
well. But, you know, we're constantly slipping off.
I mean, I think we eat out like once to twice a week.
Once or twice a week
Yeah.
at least, yeah.
And then sometimes I'm having to eat at work 'cause I just, you know, get
Yeah,
hours
you have to
there.
do what you got to do.
That was the
for
hard
sure.
one, yeah. Trying to like plan it for work, and you know, I mean, it's ironically because she works at a restaurant,
Yeah.
right? So
Oh, yeah.
there's
Yeah,
plenty
yeah.
of food,
Uh-huh.
but it's like the type of food that they're serving and making.
No,
It's
that,
like
whenever I'm putting things in, I'm all like, no this, no that, no this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Don't put
yeah.
that extra seasoning on there.
yeah, the seasonings and all that stuff.
Something that I'll say here that I think is super helpful is just like detoxing on the regular. Like I like to detox seasonally, so like each season, usually like around the equinox or the solstice, I'll do a deeper detox. So
cool.
I've done this year. I've done a liver gallbladder cleanse. I've done a parasite cleanse, and I'm about to do a heavy metal cleanse. So these are like things that I've been carrying as tools that I'll pull out, and like I'm getting better at doing this throughout the year. I'm actually leading a group through a heavy metal detox. That's going to be like my next program that's dropping on August 12th.
Okay.
Called the Rescue Program.
Awesome, y'all check that out.
Yeah. I'll share a link with you guys. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's
We'll share that
amazing.
as well because it sounds great. Do you recommend like, because you mentioned the water maple syrup.
The
You did
Master
that for-
Cleanse.
Yeah, you did that for 10 days. So is there like a mini version, like something that people can do?
You can do it for as long as you want. Like you know, some people do it for 3 days or 2, or you know, I would suggest even just like I like to just do like water and lime fast. That's just something I'll be doing it with this group program too. We do it once a week. We do anywhere from like a 24 to 72 hour fast once a week.
Okay.
And that's like that's just like a game changer right there for
Yeah.
clarity and health and like resetting, you know, the energy of your body, like, you know, the way that, you know, you organize things in the body. And yeah, it does like, you know, again, it makes space. It like,
Yeah.
you're not putting so much in that you have to process. You're just like clear, like you're clear. You're just like naturally just like have open space, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I did one 36 hours, I want to say. I don't remember what I took. I don't know if it was just water or I think it was lemon or lime water. I can't remember. It was like 6 or so years ago. I'd love to do it again, but
How'd you feel?
good. And I had like a smoothie. Like that was the first thing I
Oh, so
had.
good, I bet, when you had
Yeah,
it.
it was the best thing that I had ever had. I was like so excited making it, and it was just like I think I posted on my Instagram about that.
That's a good point. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be so great. You're
Yeah.
putting so much love into it, then like, it sparked, like just
Yes,
gave you that
exactly.
effervescence.
It felt really good, and I don't think a lot of people like know what to do after a fast. And I think it's like really important to like be aware of that first thing that you're gonna
Yeah,
eat. 'Cause it
totally.
could
Oh yeah.
change things.
I've gotten off fast before and eaten like Korean barbecue, and it was like not the right move.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't even consider that. Yeah, so you have to be mindful of
Oh
what
yeah,
you,
yeah,
what
yeah.
you
You
start
want to
off
just like wean back into like, you know, like
Wow.
little by little, like smoothie or like
Yeah.
a juice, and then maybe some soup later.
with. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Don't go too hard right after. Again, like simple, like just one type of something. You know?
Yeah, because you just cleaned yourself out, so you know you don't want to go too heavy.
Yeah.
Korean barbecue.
Right.
Yeah, and we've sort of been trying to keep on with the idea of like, you know, as long as the food is natural, right? It's not
Yeah.
processed in any way, should be okay.
Yeah, it should be. Trying. It's
Well, you
difficult.
both look great. It looks like you're
Oh,
doing a
thank
good
you.
job.
I
Yeah.
mean, you as well. I didn't know your
Yeah.
age or anything, but you know, doing great. That's awesome.
Feel great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really try to stay on top of it because, you know, like I said, the calls of this world are so just draining and exhausting. Like, we do what we can. Yeah.
Do you still do art? Are you still doing graffiti?
Yeah,
or-
both. Yeah. So I do more fine art painting now, oil paints. Yeah.
That's
I'll share
awesome.
some links with you guys. You guys
Yeah,
can check them out.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, please
Absolutely,
share
we would
all
love
of
that.
the links with us, and we'll put it in the description as well. You know,
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
this episode.
Yeah, if anyone's here in Austin, Texas, Whole Sky Healing Arts is the name of my business. I'm in
Whole
Oak
Sky.
Hill. Yeah.
Okay.
You can look me up online, and I'll share the link with you guys.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
We're
Plug it
definitely
there.
going to put the information on. Y'all have to check out his work. This sounds incredible. We're very interested.
Yeah.
We had talked previously, even at the pool. It was like, I've heard about what you do. I'm interested. interested.
Oh, and I actually have a free tool that I just made that I'll share the link with you too. It's called
perfect.
Sound Sanctuary Sleep Reset. So it's a tool to help you deeply relax and enhance your sleep quality.
yeah, we would love that.
And it's sound that you'll listen through headphones, so you
Okay.
can like, give me some feedback on it. Let me know how you guys feel.
Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
in ear or over ear. Does that matter?
It doesn't matter. Oh, yeah. Whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
stress
wonderful.
about. Don't stress about it. Just
Maybe like if
need
it's
the
in ear, then
optimal-
get pillows and like wrap it around. No, I'm just
Need to know the
kidding.
best one.
you have to lock
Yeah.
yourself in a closet, turn off all the lights.
Turn off the lights, yes. No one interrupt me.
No other stimulation. Yeah.
Salt in the bath, water. No.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we really appreciate you coming on.
Oh,
This
you
was
guys, thanks
incredible.
for having
I
me.
loved learning more.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you so
it.
much.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
interesting episode. We would love to have you back on too to maybe discuss a little bit more. Go
We'll have a follow for sure.
deeper dive.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay, great.
And yeah, like I said, we'll plug everything in the description, guys, so you can check out Daniel and all of his work that he does. I mean, yeah, it sounds like an amazing service. I think that's really important too, is like, because you had mentioned that you did a fast, but you did it, by yourself. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering how beneficial it can be to have like a community, also
Yeah, that
supporting
sounds
you
really
and
cool.
doing it with
huge.
other people.
It's huge. That's another
know?
thing. It's such a catalyzing force. Like the power in the group is just it's exponential. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it like 100x's everything because
Right.
like you have accountability and it's again the congregation, the frequency that you're all setting together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Together.
Yeah,
that
that
makes a
seems
lot of
super
sense.
important. And it's like, just even like having this discussion right now and listening to you talk, it just felt so inspired, and motivated. I'm like, oh man, I want to get on it now.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm ready.
I'm here
ready
for
to do it.
support. Yeah, well, anytime, man.
Yeah.
I'll share more
That's
stuff with you
wonderful.
guys for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can't thank
Yeah.
you enough
Dude,
for coming on.
Thank
Thank you
Really
guys.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
appreciate you guys.
All right, and thank you all for joining us again. We really appreciate all the support. Make sure to like and subscribe. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We're on TikTok now.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Getting there.
We got the TikTok going.
Yes,
Check it
we'll
out.
start adding that as well. We want y'all to follow us, and we'll follow you as well. We
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah, and let us know if there's anybody that you know of that wants to come on, and if y'all want to come on too, that'd be great. We'd love to have you. Like we've said many times before, we're just out here trying to help promote everyone that's out there.
And
'cause-
we're really just interested in getting to know people because, I've spent a lot of time not getting to know people, and I don't like that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Bringing the good vibe, guys.
And we love building the community and helping others, in their endeavors and businesses too. So just hit us up, y'all, and let's all support each other. All right.
Thank
Appreciate
y'all.
it. See y'all later. Thanks.